I just wrapped up an impromptu 16-hour round trip to watch the Pacers in Atlanta, and I am so happy I went. In fact, this is a game Bill Simmons has labeled the best NBA game of the season so far. And that was on his Wednesday pod. And yeah, I realize it's early. Obviously, though, I've got to talk a little bit about that trip. And the drive there, it really wasn't all that bad. I didn't hit traffic until maybe, there was about an hour left, which then turned into 2 hours. But I left at 5:30 in the morning, so I had plenty of time. I had no idea my hotel was about 1.5 miles from the Carter Center and the Jimmy Carter Library, so I even had some time to swing by there. I like historic stuff, so that was a lot of fun. And anyway, eventually the gates to the game opened, and of course, I took some stuff to get signed. My big success of the night was finally getting Benedict Mathurin to sign something for me. I had a photogenic rookie card that pictured a game I went to in Orlando. So I like collecting those cards, and then now I like getting those signed. So I was pretty excited to get that one signed. And from there, it was onto my seat, which was row FF. I think it was like 6 or 8 rows behind the Hawks bench. Apparently, this also included access to something called the Players Club, which had unlimited hot dogs, burgers, pizza, popcorn, sodas, ice cream, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, here I am talking about autographs and food and everything else. I need to talk about the actual game. So earlier in the day, I saw a tweet that tracked the highest over-unders since 1995, and this game was number 1 at 252.5 points. In other words, both of these teams push the ball, and neither one of them really plays any defense. Well, if you are a gambling man or a gambling woman, and you picked the over, you were right. And it wasn't even close. The two teams combined for 309 total points, which is absurd. The Pacers scored the most points that they've scored in franchise history. And while it was close for the first few minutes, it seemed like it got out of hand pretty quick. And I was already feeling bad about making this trip, because at one point in the second quarter, the Hawks were up 20. And I realize the NBA is a game of runs now. So, a 10-point lead isn't nearly as devastating as it used to be, but 20 points to me still seems pretty rough. Not so much for this Pacers team, though, because of the insane pace they're playing right now. And really, they've always been a slow team. That is not the case anymore. And if you were only looking at the Pacers' points at halftime, you would assume they had a big lead, because they had 73 points. But they were actually down 13. Yes, that's right. They gave up 86 points in one half. So no defense being played. Now, luckily, the Pacers have Tyrese Haliburton. And you might remember I said he is a top 15 player in the NBA. I said that a few weeks ago. Well, he's playing even better than that right now. I want to read a stat line off for you real quick. 26 points, 8 of 9 field goals, 7 of which were three-pointers, 1 rebound, 4 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal. And that sounds like a great game, but that's what Tyrese did in just the third quarter. So now he has 2 games this year where he's scored 25 points in a quarter. It's insane. And seeing it in person on the road is a lot of fun, because you get to take in some of the environment that you just can't experience if you're watching on TV at home. And as each one of these deep threes went in, you could kind of hear the air being let out of the building. People were deflated, right? And they were just legitimately upset, like yelling, "Hey, why don't you put a hand up? Why don't you cover him?" Well, when he was covered, he was making cross-court passes for assists. So, it's easier said than done. Now, come the fourth quarter, the Hawks did adjust, and they trapped him nonstop. He didn't score any points in the fourth quarter, but he was still dishing the ball out to other people, and someone had to step up, and that player mainly was Buddy Hield, who ended up with 13 in the fourth. So the teams traded blows, but ultimately the Pacers came out on top, and they clinched a spot in the in-season tournament quarterfinals in the process. Now, I've been to enough blowouts that I've learned to really just relish these moments. It was similar to a game I went to in Miami last year when Tyrese notched his career high. So, you know what? I enjoyed it. Now, granted, I'm not an obnoxious fan on the road. I definitely make sure to take it all in, and that's what I did here. So there's a lot more that could be said about this game. I'm sure I'll think of something I missed right after I'm done recording here. Like I said, it was a lot of fun, and I wanted to make sure and share that with you guys today.